Namaste. This is the fourth part in the series Understanding Kundalini Awakenings or Spiritual Awakenings. The link to the remaining three parts will be there in the description box below. In today's part, I'll be talking about at what level of consciousness do we humans exist in the scheme of creation. If we think of God as light, then where exactly do we exist in this ray or in the spectrum of light? Further, when somebody is into deep meditative practices or spiritual practices, when the spiritual awakening is unfolding in their body, they have certain experiences like heat emanating from the base of the spine. They have these beautiful emotions, they feel peace, they become a better person, they become a kinder version of themselves. They hear a lot of white noise, and some even experience certain stages where they are in a state of void, or they see themselves in a kind of an empty black space or a black void. So, what do all these things mean in a spiritual awakening process? In my last video, I spoke about how the bindu, the para bindu, which exists on the top of the head here in the picture, this is in the Sahasrara chakra. The universe or the creation, it burst forth from this dot. This is a just a point. It has no dimension. From this point onwards, when moving down, the dot, it burst forth into creation, and the various levels of manifestation have got created through this one dot. The entire creation, as I told you, it exists within us, or rather we have the capacity within us to access the entire levels of creation. The kundalini, which is there at the sahasrara chakra as mahakundalini, she exists at the bottom of the spine as the 3.5 coiled kundalini. With regard to the physical manifestation, the world we see, the physical body we have, our consciousness is operating generally in the lower three chakras. But once we understand how we can transmute our energy, especially the lower emotional states, into something higher, for example, if you can understand how to transform pain into lessons or hatred into acceptance, when you are practicing those things, there's something wonderful that happens with the body. The body moves away from the lower three levels of consciousness. You start experiencing your body as part of an energetic flow. Now you have this new ability to experience the energetic vibrations which happen at a higher level, which were not available to you earlier when you were living within the lower three chakras as a limited being. In this picture, it is more clear. If we think of God as light, then the entire electromagnetic spectrum is a manifestation of the divine. First, creation started with the pranava sound, that is Om. So, first, you have these sound waves, which are at the lower end of the spectrum in the picture here. From sound came light, and the light spectrum which we understand as per science is given here. The electromagnetic spectrum is placed here at the lower side, that is where the energy frequency is less, the wavelength is longer. So at that end of the spectrum you have the radio waves, then comes the microwave, then the infrared, then the visible light spectrum, then comes the ultraviolet, X-ray, and then the gamma ray. As we proceed further, the frequency is higher and the wavelength is shorter. We are using these waves in our daily lives for various reasons. For example, if you have to heat up your food, you're using the microwave in the light spectrum, that energy frequency. So typically this electromagnetic spectrum, this is a field of energy. And if you think of God as light, then this entire electromagnetic field, it is an emanation of the divine. And this exists within us also. In this electromagnetic spectrum, there is one area where you have the visible light that is given here in the picture, where you can see the 7 colors. And where do these 7 colors exist within us? The 7 colors, they exist within our body, within our spine. Red is Muladhara Chakra, orange is Swadhisthana, yellow is Manipura, green is Anahata, blue is Vishuddhi, and purple is Agya Chakra. So the colors which we see in our chakras are just a part of this electromagnetic spectrum. Our consciousness is operating within this zone. If you take the entire electromagnetic field, then our consciousness is operating within this visible color zone. A normal person is only using part of this energy spectrum. Most of them are just caught up in the lower 3 chakras. So they're just using part of this energetic spectrum for understanding life. And that is why their outlook towards life is very small. They operate from the lower egoic state and they don't know how to move into higher states. But for somebody who's spiritually evolved, who are into deep practices, especially meditative practices, they are into mantra chanting, there are many other paths. So when somebody is into any one of these paths, or when they're doing many paths in combination, they have this ability within them to access the various energy fields in the electromagnetic spectrum. They're not just limited to that red, yellow, and the orange zone, which is very predominant in somebody who's working from a lower egoic state. When somebody makes a shift from this lower egoic state, where they try to express their higher wisdom and they are not looking at life from the fight and flight mode, their ability to access the other areas in this electromagnetic field increases. They are sort of expanding their level of consciousness. That is why when they're into spiritual practices, they start having many different symptoms. These symptoms, in a way, are telling the person that their field of operation is now expanding. They are no longer limited to those lower 3 chakras. Rather, they are able to access the energy levels in the electromagnetic spectrum, which are beyond those visible light spectrum, and there are some areas which are beneath the visible light spectrum. They're able to access both of that. That is what many symptoms in spiritual awakening or Kundalini awakening point to. For example, many as part of the spiritual awakening process experience heat at the base of the spine. This heat, it radiates up the spine. So why do we feel this heat at the base of the spine? At the base of the spine, we have the Muladhara chakra, which is red in color. But just beneath the Muladhara chakra, we have the infrared zone. The infrared zone, it has the ability to heat. For example, the earlier electric bulbs we used, those bulbs would heat up. After switching on the light, 5 minutes later, if you would touch the bulb, your hands would burn. The reason for this is these light bulbs were not only using the visible spectrum of light, they were even using the infrared rays. That is why the bulb would get hot after switching it on. Whereas nowadays we all are using the LED bulb. the LED bulb, the bulb does not heat up. When you touch it, it is not hot. The reason is that the LED bulb is only using the visible spectrum of light. It is not using the infrared light. In the same manner, once our level or ability to access various levels in the electromagnetic field increases because of certain sadhana or practices, we are able to access the infrared rays which are just beneath the uh, light spectrum, the visible light spectrum. Infrared is just beneath the Mooladhara chakra. So this is the point from where you will feel the heat rising up your spine. Apart from that, we even experience chakra spinning or rotating in our body. If you observe closely, you will notice that the Agya chakra, it rotates faster, whereas the Muladhara chakra, it rotates very slow. Depending on where the chakra is positioned in the body, the energy frequency at which it is positioned, the rotation will be at that level. The lower end, that is the red color, the frequency is less, the wavelength is more, and that is why it spins slowly. Whereas Agya chakra, it spins faster. Accordingly, the lower chakras can store more material, and it is more difficult to spin the lower three chakras. Whereas the upper chakras, they spin faster. And that is why Agya chakra does not hold uh, much of your lower egoic impressions. The first thing to spin generally in anybody's body is the Agya chakra. And this chakra, once it starts spinning, it works as an antenna to access universal energy. And the reason being that this is the topmost chakra in the chakra system of the body. And just above the Agya chakra, you have the crown chakra. The crown chakra is it is connected with the brain activity here. And once Agya chakra starts spinning, the activity in the brain area also starts increasing, and the person starts attracting a lot of universal energy. This, coupled with a lot of meditative practices or deep spiritual practices, the person experiences the white noise. That is the a noise that is there in the background. Sometimes it is present constantly. It is a kind of a very unsettling noise. And this noise comes from the fact that this person is able to access the gamma rays of the electromagnetic spectrum. The gamma rays can be experienced as those unsettling white noise which is constantly running in the background as we are spiritually evolving. These gamma rays can be linked to the various nice emotions we feel, the general joy, the peace, the sense of well being or happiness, satisfaction, contentment, the feeling of bliss, love that we experience in higher spiritual states. This can be linked with how we connect to this particular gamma rays frequency in the electromagnetic field. We are connecting with the gamma rays range in the electromagnetic spectrum. That connection leads to this inner peace, a sense of a well-being, happiness, contentment, all that, and that background noise. This over a prolonged period of time can increase uh, the selflessness in a person. That is, this person starts moving away from the lower egoic fear or desire or uh, other negative emotions towards higher positive emotions. It changes the person, and we are able to access this gamma rays through our spiritual practices. So, this ability is there within each one of us to move beyond the lower egoic selfish behavior to something higher within ourselves itself. In many studies, the researchers they found that during meditation, The Zen Buddhist monks, they show an extraordinary synchronization of brainwaves known as gamma synchrony, a pattern which is increasingly associated with robust brain function. In the same way, many siddhis or very psychic abilities or many uh, higher brain abilities are displayed by many Indian yogis too. Generally, in the electromagnetic spectrum, the human body cannot tolerate the X-rays for a longer period of time. That is why when we go to an X-ray division in the hospital, others are asked to leave the room when the patient is getting the X-ray. And prolonged exposure to X-ray can damage the cells in a body. In the same way, as we move towards gamma rays, the frequency gets much higher. And the physical body, when it is exposed to gamma rays, it can tear down the physical body structures. So, at a physical aspect, the gamma rays can tear down the body. But when we can access these gamma rays through spiritual practices, and when the brain is functioning at this level, it somehow does not affect or does not harm the structure of the brain. Rather, it synchronizes the various parts of the brain to function even more effectively. The electromagnetic spectrum that you see here, the slide, the lower part you have the radio waves. These are the waves which you utilize for transmitting the radio signals. If you go beneath that, the wavelength gets even slower and it goes downwards infinitely. In the same way, the other end of the spectrum that you see in the picture here, the gamma rays, if you go beyond the gamma rays, you have the cosmic rays, you have the matter waves. So those waves also are moving upwards infinitely. In the electromagnetic spectrum, first the sound part of the spectrum. Once the sound ceases, then you have the light part of the spectrum. It starts with the infrared, which is just beneath the Muladhara chakra, and the visible spectrum of light. We are able to see this light because we have these lights within our body. We occupy this zone in the entire electromagnetic spectrum. So those lights are present within us as the six chakras. And just above the Agya chakra, you have the ultraviolet zone. The ultraviolet area is where the Manas chakra is present. The Manas chakra, it is connected with the Manas Padma, which is on the right side of the heart. When the Manas chakra connects with the Manas Padma, this allows us to look within the contents of our mind, how we are actually uh, reacting to situations. Here we have the ability to make better choices, good choices. So in a way, this ultraviolet zone which is there just above the Agya chakra, this is something like a transmutational zone where you are able to transmute your lower energies, lower thoughts, lower feelings. You're doing this in connection with the heart and the brain. They're working together here. So the connection is there. Together, they are transmuting many lower energies into spiritually aligned emotions. This ultraviolet, it even gives the person a nice bright look. That is why you will see that when somebody is very highly spiritually evolved, you can see a kind of light emanating from them. There's a nice aura around them. So the ultraviolet light gives them that brightness. The more you are able to access this, the more you are using it for your spiritual transformation, the more this ultraviolet light burns inside you, and the more it is visible out to the external world. Just above the ultraviolet, you have the invisible black light. It is just a state of darkness. a black void. Many, especially with a top-down awakening, they access this black void at the beginning itself. For somebody with a Kundalini awakening, the Kundalini has to travel through the spine to reach that area. So, generally, these things are experienced by somebody with a Kundalini awakening at the later part in their spiritual development. But in a top down awakening, where the energy is descending onto the person, the crown area is very active. They listen to this uh, unsettling white noise in their head. A lot of brain activity along with the heart activity is happening. The violet flame or the violet ultraviolet transmutation energy is working strong within them. For them, the black void is seen much earlier in their journey. So this is felt like infinite black space, and they are in this black void. It is black everywhere, and for many, it is not that it is black, there is a kind of an invisible light in that black. Many even experience bliss in this black void state. Some can experience fear initially, but this is a profound spiritual experience. So here the awareness, it persists in Shunyata. And as we proceed further, the tempo is increasing. Everything is vibrating so fast. Here we are moving upwards. As we're moving upwards, the tempo builds, the rhythms they beat much faster and faster. After some time, what happens is all these rhythms they merge into a monotone of unmanifest silence, which is one pointed awareness. An awareness which is vibrating at an infinite frequency. We can call this as the state of samadhi. So, a state of samadhi is not a silent dead state. It is not something like a sleep state. It is an active state of silence where all rhythms, all vibrations, they have merged into the oneness of silence, or they're merged into a point of awareness in that silence. So, beyond all these, what exists at the highest point is your awareness. We now understand that we are a part of this electromagnetic spectrum where the lower part, that is the Kundalini, which is residing at the Muladhara, it is sleeping at the base of our spine so that our consciousness does not descend into the lower worlds, the worlds below the Muladhara. And there is the Mahakundalini in the Parabindu, in the Sahasrara Chakra here. So our consciousness is operating within this zone. When we evolve spiritually, we go from the lower chakra to the higher chakra, and then we merge in the bindu. This is the place where you experience total samadhi, the nirvikalpa samadhi. When the kundalini is moving upwards from the lower chakra up to the sahasrara chakra, it absorbs all colors into itself, all elements into itself, all the attributes of every chakra. It absorbs all those into itself at every level. So when it is moving upwards, everything gets absorbed into the next level of the chakra, or the next level of creation. For example, the earth element which is there in the Muladhara, it gets absorbed into water. Water gets absorbed into fire, which is there in the Manipura chakra. Fire gets absorbed into air, which is there in Anahata chakra. Air gets absorbed into space, which is there in the Vishuddha chakra. In the same way, the color element, the red gets absorbed into orange, orange gets absorbed into yellow, yellow into green, green into blue, blue into violet. When the creation is happening, from the space, the air emanates. From air, fire emanates. From fire, water emanates. From water, earth emanates. In the same way, from the purple color, you have the blue emanating. From blue comes green. From green comes yellow. From yellow comes orange, and from orange comes red. So in a way, you can say that the green color has the yellow, it has the orange, and it has the red. In a way, you can say that the air element consists of the fire, the water, and the earth within it. I can explain this phenomena to you better using this example. Say I take a colorful paper where there are a lot of colors on the paper, and then I go into the sea. I am diving into the sea. When I go beyond a point, the red color on the sheet will turn orange color. The red will go away. It will turn orange. After a certain point, when I go into the ocean more deeper, the orange will start turning into yellow color. At that level, the orange gets absorbed into the yellow color. If I go more deeper, the yellow gets absorbed into the green color. So I'll only have blue and green in my color chart. If I go down even further, the green gets absorbed into the blue color. After I've dived much deeper into the ocean, the entire color chart, the sheet will turn blue. All the colors are absorbed by the blue color. And that is why the ocean looks blue. All the colors are absorbed and only blue is left once all are absorbed into it. This is what is exactly happening with us when Kundalini is rising up the spine. This is exactly what is happening in our spine. The red, once Kundalini rises up, it gets absorbed into orange, orange into yellow, yellow into green, green into blue, and blue into violet. So the creation, it follows the laws of nature. And even when it is getting absorbed, then also it is following the laws of nature. So the entire spiritual uh, activity that is happening in our body, it happens as per these laws of nature. And when somebody is having a top-down awakening, their tendency to experience the white noise, the experience of black void, their experience with the ultraviolet ray, the Agya chakra, and then the heart head connection, the states of void, all these things are much higher for somebody who is having a descent of grace or descent of Shakti. But for somebody who's having a Kundalini awakening and the Kundalini is moving down through the spine upwards, these things will be experienced at the later part of their journey. Thank you.